Okay, this I think was a lesson I needed to learn, and I think I'm still learning, or maybe I'm just seeing it. I think I'm going to try to get it out. I'm going to try to see it clearly. Hopefully this will help others if they have the same problem. We've spoken about it before, where it was like it's like I had to have the problem and the solution, which we can all do for ourselves, but as kids, we can't. And as humans, we technically can't either, in that we have the problem and then we need to let the problem go and let our vibration rise so that the solution can come to us. And so essentially it could have been a good thing that I learned, right? Because essentially it makes you self-sufficient. Yet it also made me so independent in that I don't need your opinion. I've had to learn to do it this way, which is a bad attitude, right? And so it's not that it's a bad attitude, it just doesn't leave room for others, so to speak, right? And I don't want that. I want help. I always wanted help. It's just I learned that I wasn't going to get it, so figure it the fuck out on your own. And so, I had this habit of doing that. It was like if I had a problem, I learned to stop speaking about it or asking for help. It was like I would seek out the help on my own, where I would read or take courses or learn or all these things, when also we've learned, and I had to learn the long, hard way that way as well, that you just have to raise your vibration and then the answers will come to you. So you don't have to seek and try and effort and all these things. What you have to do is the opposite. You just have to relax and get happy and float up. And as you float up, when you arrive, from the higher vantage point at a higher vibration, the answers just naturally flow to you. It's easy. And so, yet there was still, and I still do this at times, I did this a lot, and I still do it at times, where I'll seek out the effort, I'll try, I'll learn new skills or techniques or theories or ideas or understanding, and trying to help myself. So, in any case, I'm trying to get to it. It's like they showed these were my tendencies, not right, wrong, good, bad, just it's what it is. It's like we all have our experiences, and based on our experiences, we create our patterns, our way of thinking, our hinging, our mishinging, whatever the case may be. And so I do tend to, you've heard me talk about go into hermit mode, right? I will go within, and I'll do both. I'll go within and try to unravel it in my mind and find the answers, but that is seeking, pushing, efforting, when what I need to do is just relax and float up. And so that still tends to be 50-50. Sometimes I'll do one, sometimes I'll do the other. And when I get stuck in my head, it never feels good, right? Like it's certainly the hard way around. Yet it's familiar, it's a pattern, so I tend to do it at times. And so I will find the answer one way or the other. Either option, going within, trying, efforting, seeking, and or relaxing, floating up, an answer will come. And I have found, again, over time, what I tend to do is then that's it, that's the answer. And so then I'll move forward with that answer. But in this, it still leaves others out of the equation as far as communicating. So I'm trying to verbalize it. So it's like I will come to a conclusion, and I won't allow necessarily others the input. I was going to say retaliation, but I don't want them to retaliate, but it's like I won't let them to. It's usually I'll get to a place where it's like they've had the opportunity and I haven't. It's like, and I haven't communicated well enough along the way, and they certainly haven't along the way. And so that's when I'll get pushed into that hermit mode, or that resolution amongst myself. And so then it's like they no longer have the option or opportunity to be included in that decision process, so to speak. So again, we can look at that as good or bad, but I'm suggesting it can be bad. So again, however it applies to you, but I'm trying to verbalize it where it's not that I'm bad. It's just like seeing this way of being can at times harm me, right? Like, excuse me, where if I can get better about communicating my needs clearer sooner, it doesn't have to escalate to those situations. Now, don't get me wrong. There's also times where I've done that over and over and over again and have not gotten anywhere. So it's, instead of going insane, beating my head against the wall, doing the same thing over and over, I then go within and do something different. So it's again, you have to have your own discernment, right? And own thought process. But in this understanding and realization of this pattern, I also recognize that there are times where it's like, I don't necessarily regret what I said or did, but I also wish that in addition to doing such, there was more like an open end or it's like a receiving end. It's like, in other words, once I get to that final decision, it's done. Where it's like it's not that what I did was wrong, it's just how I did it. Like, in other words, I did it and then it's done. Instead of being like, okay, this is what it is. Now, if you want to respond, I'm open to receiving that response. Doesn't mean it's going to change my mind or anything's going to be different. But I'd like to hold space for that. That's what it is. It's like I need to learn to hold space for that. They're showing like to a degree. I understand there definitely has to be discernment here. Again, I'm not telling you to do that for situations that you've gotten dug into the ground with, and then it's like, no. I'm suggesting there's times where I know for me, it's not even necessarily that, it's just poor communication or thinking I have to do it all on my own. And then if that's the case, then clear the path, because if I have to do it all on my own, then I'm going to do it all on my own, and I don't want to hear the chirpings of others who aren't helping. So if you're not going to help and you're not going to be in this with me, then out you go. And I don't want to hear a peep from you, right? So I'll clear the path in that sense. So it's like that, like you can hear that, how that's a little, people can look at that as harsh. And it can be, and it can also be wise. It just depends on the scenario. Again, if say all those chirpers were just aware that they were never going to help and they were always just a thorn in your side, then you do need to pull all the thorns out and move along. But if those thorns are willing to protect, or do, they're showing like instead of going in me, they can protect around me. If they're willing to help in some way versus hurt, then, I'm more open to being receptive and receiving. But again, you have to use your discernment on who's what and when and so forth and so on. Just an interesting pattern to, I think, show us to be more open and receptive to responses. Even if we feel we've done all we can and we've made up our mind, it's like, okay, and yet just be willing to hear the others out. That doesn't mean you have to change your mind. That doesn't mean anything other than at least allow it to soak in, at least allow it to hear. I'm just thinking they're showing me this and then they're reminding me they had told me this a long time ago. So again, maybe it's the same idea, like somebody's going to come in, don't shut them out even though you've made up your mind. That doesn't mean let them in either. It just means hold a space where you're willing to hear. Doesn't mean you're willing to decide on the spot. It doesn't mean you've already decided before going in. It means you know your truth and you're able to at least hear the other person. That's it. I think that's it. That's all they're asking you to do is just simply hear the other person. Remember that message that came through? And it was really clear about don't even make a decision when they come in. They're like encouraging you not to make a decision because maybe you aren't able to float up to hear it from a higher vantage point. So if you respond in the moment, you might be responding out of anger or upset. So don't do anything. Just take it in and let it sit. And think about it and allow yourself to get to a healthy space so that you can respond in love versus reacting out of fear, upset, or lower vibration. Okay, that seems to be the message. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. If you would like to support this channel, you can find more information in the notes below.